Hello, my name is Kelechi Amadi-Obi and I am on Career in 5 with BellaNaija. Today we are going to be talking about maintaining sustainability in photography. I've always been obsessed with visual arts right from childhood. But what can I say? It's stuff that has always been a source of joy for me. While other kids enjoy playing football and running around during break time, I'm with my sketch pad making drawings. So it all started, from drawing comic book characters in primary school, reading copious amounts of art books in secondary school, and even though I went to study law, I was practicing art full-time in university, became famous from making posters and portraits and things in school, had a brand name called De Zulu. And by the time I came to Lagos for law school, it was a no-brainer that I had already decided I was going to be a full-time artist. And it became my career. Painting, not photography. Photography came later in the early, like in the year 2000, that was when I started taking photography seriously. And well, the rest is history, as you say. To find the balance between, being very artistic and creative and at the same time being a commercial success as an artist, for me is very crucial. First, the first thing to do is to have a product, to have something people would want to buy. And it's interesting. You see, what most people would think is more viable is to create what other people have done before. And yes, maybe you succeed for a little while, but you just be part of the crowd. What is more powerful is to create a series or be known to be unique in your creativity. And in order to achieve that, you may then need to dig deeper into self and understand who you are and the unique, makeup of your personality, and let it reflect in the way you express yourself through the art. When you do that, you will most likely have a more unique presentation of your work. Now, look at the irony. When you create stuff that people have never seen before, it's a little more risky, but it has the capacity to take you to a place where you no longer have competition. If you're able to sell that unique vision to the world, then there is only one you, which increases scarcity and raises prices and the value of whatever you bring to the market. First, create something unique, something good. Thank you very much. Second, you must be able to market it. You must be able to express the essence of what you have created. You must be able to present it properly in the proper place with gravitas, with alacrity, also with style, in order to attract the best kind of customers. So this is the balance that you need to strike. While being an artist, you also need to also have the ability to market what you have, produced. For me, those are two major things. Of course, all the tenets of business will apply to an artist who is creating work. I'm talking about accounting, I'm talking about understanding your taxes, I'm talking about doing a little bit of market survey, and I'm talking about advertising. Yes, advertising. You need to show yourself, you need to explain to people who you are, you need to explain the complications or simplicity of your work, the creativity of it. Is it poetry? Is it prose? And things like that. So all the tenets of business will also apply to an artist's business, really, after you have created your masterpiece. The first key strategy for a photographer to succeed and maintain any kind of momentum is, first, the photographer to have a product. I do believe that you cannot succeed, you cannot survive in this crowded, country that we have, 200 million people, a lot of photographers, without having something that is above average. What am I talking about? You have to first master the craft of photography. All those things about composition, color theory, aperture and whatever, all the technicalities need to have been mastered to such an extent that they are now part of your subconscious. So that is one. Second, you need to have something to say, which means that the next level of it is when you've mastered the art of visuality, you then need to master what it is, master yourself. What is your opinion about life and things? I always say this, it goes beyond just making the image. So that again is another distinguishing factor for you that will separate you from the crowd. Now, in terms of strategy, after you are happy with the product, because look, that is it's a no-brainer. You don't even start unless you have something fantastic that you can present to the world. After you have this, then you have to strategize. You have to imbibe certain habits of good business practice. What am I talking about? First, you have to decide where you are at any point in time. And deciding where you are is where you are financially, where you are creatively. What is your portfolio looking like? You have to do a very serious evaluation of your portfolio. Critical evaluation of your portfolio. Compare yourself to the best of the best. When you do that and you're happy with that, thank you very much. The second thing is to know where you are financially. How much are you being paid, for what you're doing? Considering how good your work is, how much are other creatives who are doing as well? How much are they being paid? Here, in South Africa, in China, in Japan, in New York, understand the business of photography when it comes to remuneration. Then that is one. Two, you also have to understand your costs in order to start putting a price to what you're creating. That is one. Another point is, how do you expose yourself? How are you showing yourself? What are you actually showing? What is the essence of your art? You need to define it. Because sometimes people get their prospects confused. It is always important to start small. What I mean by small, start with one category of photography. Are you a fashion photographer? Are you a wedding photographer? Are you an architectural photographer? Are you an event photographer? Now, each of these areas, you need to establish your hierarchy in any of these areas. First, it is easier to excel in one of these areas with the amount of energy and zeal and power that you have than for you to dissipate your energies and want to be the best fashion photographer, the best wedding photographer, the best portrait photographer, the best corporate photographer. There are so many different landscape, So it's good for me. One of the major tenets of survival is what I call focus. You have to have tunnel vision and say, I'm giving myself finite time to achieve this goal in this specific area of photography. That is one very important point. Diversifying your income stream will help you get a little more sustainable with your business. Yes. The first thing I always tell people is this: you've got to keep a ledger. You have to understand what your costs are, and you need to know what your stream of income, the inflow is. You need to look at that and calculate whether you're making profit or whether you're coming at a loss. A lot of times photographers or any other person doing business, once you are not aware of the numbers, I'm talking about really calculating your costs, understanding what your costs are. Your salary is a cost, your accommodation is a cost, repairing your camera, your phone bill, your children's school fees, your rent, both the office and home, equipment depreciation. You need to go and study these things, calculate them, put them in the numbers. Then you know what your costs are. When you understand your costs, then you know the minimum you need to charge for every shoot. It's something that is extremely essential. Now, when it comes to stream of income, you need to look at what you are doing, depending on the area of photography you are involved in. Every photo that you take imbues the copyright. There's the right to exploit, remuneration from exploiting the copy of your work. So the work that you're creating, are they good enough to be sold as stock images? Are they good enough to be exhibited as artworks? Are they sellable, at auctions? So I would say, while you are doing assignment photography, find time to create personal photography. Do personal projects. I mean, what can I say? If you have a bank of images, I'm telling you, you then have assets that can be deployed. You can sell them as prints, that is, print them and sell. You can sell them as digital files online for people to use, in which case you're selling different iteration of licensing. You see, in your intellectual property, there is a whole basket of goodies that you can sell from just one image. To give you an example, I had an exhibition, and it was an exhibition of photographs I'd taken around the country, landscape photographs. Now, I ended up selling prints from, so limited edition prints. That is some value. I ended up selling the brochure. People liked it so much, they wanted to buy. So I was making money. Now, people are licensing the digital files for different purposes. Now, this is all income that is coming without me making another click with my camera. So it's the kind of passive income that comes into your pocket while you are still creating more work. So do consider exploiting the copyrights and intellectual property of each work that you create. Now, that presupposes that you're making personal work that you have rights to. If you're having individuals in your pictures, well, you should think about getting a model release form so that you have the legal right to economically exploit the image without having, a lot of lawsuits. While you have the right to make money through the copyright of your image, the individual you photograph has what we call right of privacy. So if you do not have their written consent through a model release form, you could get sued. The next point I want to make about diversifying your income is that you've got to remain a student as a photographer, as a creative. It doesn't matter. Painter, photographer, filmmaker. You've got to remain a student. The industry is technology-based. It is also a creative industry. It's not a factory. It's not like, you have a formula and then you keep advertising it like maybe one of those drinks. You have to be in a constant state of bringing out the new. What that means is that you have to be in a constant state of flux, of change. So to succeed, you need to diversify your portfolio. You have to find new things. For instance, hey, I'm known as a fashion photographer, portrait photographer. A lot of people were surprised when I started knocking out some fantastic landscapes. It's a completely different market. So that way you can sustain your business. And then you can also open new doors. For instance, you don't have to remain just a photographer. You can become a cinematographer. If you understand all the rules of composition and all that, you're already halfway to becoming a good DP, director of photography for cinematography. So why not study a little bit more and have more in your portfolio? Apart from that, in these days of content creation and social media, that knowledge is going to help you market your own photography. So the other point I want to make is that you've got to diversify your discipline. You've got to learn new skills, and new technologies that are coming out. If AI is coming out, don't ignore it. Understand it. Find out how you can explore and exploit it. The first mistake that every creative should avoid is you should avoid being part of the crowd. If everybody is doing it, if it is extremely popular, go the other way. Find another way. If everybody is doing it, then it has no value, or the value has come down. So whenever you see stuff that everybody is doing is very popular, well, somebody already owns it. Find your own. find your own unique way of doing things. You could take that same thing and find a different way to express it. Yeah? So that is one. The second thing I want you not to ever do is to betray trust. Now, the world of creativity is interesting. You are creating stuff that is unique to your way of thinking. For people to want to drop their money for you, they need to trust that you will deliver. They need to trust that you will not fail. So it takes a little time, but the way to build trust in this regard for me is to deliver more than paid for. So if people are paying you 10,000 naira to do a job, think, what can I deliver in terms of the quality and the depth of this work that will make this client paying 10,000 believe that they had underpaid? Believe that, wow, this thing I think is worth 20,000, not 10,000. If you're able to achieve that, then what you've ended up doing is you end up turning your client to your advertiser, to your billboard. And no advertising is more powerful than word of mouth. When people give testimony to somebody who says they want to do a photograph, and they say, look, go to that guy, he will give you the best. Why? Because they are, you exceeded their expectation. So I say, under promise and over deliver. Very, very important.